Welcome to yet another episode of The Rose Show. As always, I am your host, Jay. Who else but me? And today I have a comedy legend on the show. It is the comedic genius himself, Greg Hahn. His style is unlike anything you've ever seen before in your life. And man, he's one of my favorites. And we'll get into this here a little bit as the show goes, obviously. I first got hip to Greg Hahn as he was a regular on the Bob and Tom show. Now, if you don't know what Bob and Tom is, I feel like I should at least explain this. Bob and Tom is a national syndicated radio show, but there are parts of the country that don't get it. So I understand that there's some people that watch this that might not know what the show is. So if you're watching and you don't, these people are Midwest legends, and I don't know how far out the reach goes, but the show has been on at least as long as I've been an adult. And so they're primarily Midwestern, yeah, but they've had anybody who's everybody on this show. Not only in the names of comedy, they have mad actors have been on this show. Ozzy Osbourne's been in the studio. They used to have football star Peyton Manning on a regular basis. So the Bob and Tom show is legit. And Greg Hahn has been on pretty much the entire time I've been listening. I think around the time I started listening, which would have been the '06 area, was pretty much the time where he had been on for a couple of years at that point, I think. But anyway, so yeah, to have Greg on the show when Bob and Tom has been such a big part of my life and a lot of people's lives in this area. I understand a lot of people don't listen as much as they used to anyway these days because the show is different from what it was back in the early 2000s, late 90s. But for me, it's always been something I've gone to when I needed to pick me up. I still listen to the app quite honestly on a regular basis. I listen to reruns a lot. I've got a lot of the content saved on my Spotify account. So, you know, the show has meant something to me for quite a while. And obviously, Greg Hahn's comedy has been a big piece of that. So to be able to speak to him is a pretty big deal. But anyway, I'm not going to take any more of your time. Let's get to the sponsor, and then we will get to my interview with the great Greg Hahn. All right, everybody, it's time to stop and let you know about today's sponsor of the show, Crazy Martin's in Piqua, Ohio, one of my favorite places in the entire world to go to. Crazy Martin's has provided their customers with quality products for over 20 years, from ashtrays to water pipes and everything in between. Stop in, check out their selection, and of course, check out their pinball machines. With over 20 pins to choose from, there is something for everyone. Crazy since 1996. I don't just say this about every place. I love going to Crazy Martin's. I've always loved going to Crazy Martin's ever since I was of age to go to Crazy Martin's. It's one of my favorite places in the entire world. Me and my wife go there almost every Sunday to play pinball machines. It is one of the funnest spots in Ohio you could possibly find. It is in Piqua, Ohio. Check out their website at www.crazymartins.com. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to yet another edition of The Rose Show. As always, I'm your host, Jay. Who else but me? And today, man, my guest is one of the funniest dudes that I've grown up watching, as a matter of fact. He's a former Marine, a longtime and frequent guest of the Bob and Tom show. You've seen him on Late Night with Conan and Brian. He doesn't really like podcasts, but he likes my dog, so that's why he's here today. His name is Greg Hahn. What is going on, my man?
Hey, Jay, what's happening? Let's start. Here we go. Podcasting, my very favorite.
And he's also a liar. But anyway, so on top of that, so basically what I wanted to do is I just kind of wanted to have a conversation with you today. As you can see, I'm a big fan of the Bob and Tom show. I have been for a long time. I live in Dayton, Ohio. So this is kind of the, Wiley's Legendary Club. A lot of
Wiley's.
Bob and Tom.
I still play Wiley's. Yeah, I was playing
absolutely.
Both, and then I played more Wiley's, and now I just play Wiley's. It's fun. It's fun there, like an old school place. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, it's like dark and stinky and great. Well, dangerous. Absolutely. The parking's okay. You get in there, you're fine. You know, the other club is big and shiny, and they'll bring you dinner. You know, so you're trying to do comedy over cheese sticks, but that's a nice place. But as far as like great, I mean, you're if you go to Wiley's, you're partying. You know what I mean? Have a shot of
Yeah.
beer, sit back and watch the jokes. The comics relaxed. It's fun, you know.
Yeah.
I guess you'd say it's less corporate.
Yeah,
Less corporate.
absolutely. And that's definitely the vibe. Yeah, for
The whole
sure.
thing is the whole place is on a always on a wing and a prayer.
Yeah.
Every night in Wiley's, everyone there, including the comic, is always afraid that it might be the last night.
Right.
You know.
That's very good
Let me ask
point.
you this.
Very
Let me
good
ask you a
point.
question. Didn't Chappelle buy that place? Did Dave Chappelle buy that
Man,
place? Buy that building?
I I honestly don't know.
That's
It's
what I
been
heard.
kind of like it's been weird as far as like the scheduling goes lately. So I wouldn't
Yeah.
doubt if there was some kind of transition involved. Yeah, for
Okay.
sure.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll find out.
But yeah, for sure. But what I wanted to ask you was a little bit about your background because again, I've heard you on the Bob and Tom show for years, but I've never really seen like a whole lot, there's not a whole lot of time on the show to really talk to the comics. So that's kind of what I wanted to do with you today is kind of get a little bit of your background, your history, and kind of how you got into comedy.
Oh yeah, well it's real simple. Is the getting a real job? I mean, it's difficult. My first bit that I wrote was a job interview bit because I hated job interviews, you know. And then, but the bottom line with comedy, stand-up comedy, is it beats working. You know, I don't have any kids. I don't have a wife. I don't have to support anybody. So you come up with something as stupid as stand-up because it's barely a job, and you figure if you can come up with an hour of saying funny things, you got a career. You know what I mean? I mean, if you show up sober with your pants on, it's doable. You got to work on your jokes every now and again, get along with people, know how to book flights. I mean, that's easier than a job. What do you do for a living?
I do a whole bunch of different stuff. My regular day job is I work at a laser fab shop cutting sheet metal, but
See
I'm
that?
involved in music. What's
Yeah, but
that?
that's a man's job. You got to go in and do that, get paid. That's a man's job.
Yeah,
You know, jobs are tough. Jobs are tough. I saw a comic show up at my college and bomb, and they paid him 10 grand. I've told that story a million times. But I thought,
yeah,
man, unbelievable. I'll do that for half price, you know?
right.
So I just thought this comedy thing, I think I'll come up with a sense of humor routine and see if it'll pay the bills. I mean, it just looked like bottom line. How'd you get into it? Why'd you get into it? Beats working.
Right. Hey, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. But speaking of some of the work that you did, I've heard multiple times that you were in some kind of like lumberjack
Oh,
stunt
that's
man show
well,
or something.
yeah. When you decide you're going to try to get into showbiz, it's you pick jobs where you have a microphone. So yeah, I was the MC for a lumberjack show. I got that gig, and then I was in a Wild West stunt show at Universal Studios where you pretend like you're getting hit in the head all the time and falling down and flopping around. I did that for like 4 years. But those are jobs in front of audiences, but you're not really a stand-up. But I thought it would help me get in front of audiences and stuff. But meanwhile, while I was doing those, I was going out and doing open mics at night until I got good enough at the open mics and busy enough so I could can all the side jobs. I was not a good stunt man. I didn't know how to fall, so I walked around with a limp for 4 years. You know. Anyway, but those are good. That was fun. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Did you always have kind of, even as, a kid in school, whatever it might be, did you always have such a, outgoing personality? Because I mean, far and large, you'll get some comedians who are, 4 or 5 times in on the Bob and Tom show, and you could tell like they're still a little bit holding back. Not you. Has it always been like you always been had that outgoing type of personality?
No, I've always been like normally I'm kind of quiet. I can be really quiet, but then for the audience and whatnot, I turn it on. But if
Yeah.
you act that way all the time, you'll just get tased. You'll be too obnoxious to be around. So off stage, I can be really quiet. Like if I have a girl with me or whatever, I like her to do the talking to the people a lot, and I can just be quiet. But on
Yeah.
stage, you got to go bananas because again, everyone else worked all week. My job is to be entertaining, so it's fun to
Sure.
go into it. Go for it. And Bob and Tom. One of the advantages that I had with Bob and Tom early was I'm clean. I happen to write clean stuff, or actually, I chose to write clean stuff so I don't have to edit as I'm talking. I can talk as fast as I do on stage and do my stuff. Whereas these guys that are very funny but dirty, they got to be careful because, if you just do your routine, there might be words in it or something that they've got to take out. So they got to slow it down and think. And maybe that appears to you as holding back, but probably they're trying to edit themselves a little bit, you know?
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So when you were which by the way, I guess I should bring this up. You are also a former Marine, like I said in the intro. Did it ever get to a point where like at any point during the Marines you were ever called out for being a goof, or again does it
Oh
go
yeah,
back
in
to the
boot
point where
camp.
you
Yeah,
were
I got in huge trouble. I wanted to lie low and just get through the. Well, I went to the officer thing in Quantico, Virginia. And anyway, yeah, I started clowning around. I got confident, started clowning around, and just got annihilated. Yeah, several times. One time in boot camp, huge, but every now and again it would be a huge mistake. Yeah, you don't want to have too much fun in the Marine Corps. But as I've said before, the funniest dudes I ever met in my life were Marines. Like
yeah,
if
really?
you in the civilian world, if you go, oh yeah, my buddy, he's a madman. Well, when you're in the Marine Corps, your buddy really is a madman, and he's endlessly entertaining. Like I got a friend, Horrible Henry, lives down here in South Florida where I am now, and he's a shark fisherman, uses himself as bait, you know he swims out there and shakes the blood all over the place, the meat, whatever he uses, looks all around, waits, shakes the meat more, swims back to the boat. He's a lunatic. I could go on and on about these guys. It's funny, the Marines, man, one of the first Marines that I met was a guy who lived in my dorm at Florida State, and they had to give him his own room because he kept threatening to kill his roommates. And he ended up, and we're normal college guys, you'd be out, a bunch of beers on a Saturday night, and then they close down the bar. Time to walk across campus back to the dorm. Except this dude from our dorm would be like, have no shirt on, covered in blood, being put in the
Yeah.
cop car, right? And I was like, oh, how can I be more like that guy? anyway, anyway, only because he got straight A's. He Today he's the richest dude I know. He's got a business in
Hmm.
Manhattan, shipbroker. But what's the point of that? Lunatic guy who had been in the Marines and went back into the Marines. So
Yeah.
anyway, wild guys, wild dudes. So I think that influenced me a little bit to be a comedian or to have an aggressive attitude. Plus, as you know, maybe I play the drums, and I used to always watch
Yes.
Buddy Rich. Buddy Rich, that drummer. Google that guy or YouTube him if you don't know who he is. Crazy, lunatic, aggressive, wild drummer. Always came out on the Johnny Carson show. So I liked him a lot. So I don't know. You put all that stuff together, and you come up with an act.
Yeah, sure. Did it take you a while to kind of find who you are? Because again, anybody that knows your style of comedy, it's unlike anybody else's. Did it take you a while to kind of develop that, or it was again that just kind of your personality figuring, the manic character of the Greg Hahn on stage that you see? Was that
Yes.
just an extension of who you are?
It's an extension. It's an extension. Good, good. Yeah, that's good way to phrase it because it's like having a couple beers and being at a party and you like everybody you see. That's what I'm trying to recreate. The whole idea is to have
Yeah,
everybody, we're all going to, including me, want to just forget about what's bugging us and let's have a good time. You know what I mean? We're all
yeah,
alive. We're off work. We took a shower. We showed up. Let's go nuts. Let's have a good time. We're all alive today, baby. Let's have some fun in here. I try not to remind anybody of even anything that would bother them. I don't push the
yeah,
envelope or do controversial stuff. I don't do politics.
yeah,
I keep it clean. I don't come after people in the front row. It's just a complete goof off. Let's
yeah,
goof off. It's stuff
yeah.
you can't do at your normal job that I'm allowed to do,
Right.
that I made my job.
Yeah. And even on this show, which I'm getting close to about 30 episodes in now at this
Yeah.
point, even on this show, I have a very strict no politics rule for that reason because
Oh,
there's nothing that I'm going to be able to say that's going to change anybody's mind, nor should it, to be honest, because that's not what I'm here to do. I'm here to entertain while doing this.
uh huh.
And B, you could see that anywhere. When you
Oh,
come
that's right.
here to
It's
watch
everywhere.
watch this interview, this is an escape. I don't like that in my entertainment. I don't care what
Yeah.
it is. I
Yeah.
don't want to watch it. I don't care
Yeah.
if I agree with it.
Right.
I don't want to see it. I want to have a good time. So yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. Good for you. Good for you, man. You sound smart.
Hey, I like to think I am, but my wife would probably say differently. But she's neither here or there. It's all good. But okay, so you create the Greg Hahn character.
Well, it's not
How? And
really a
this might
character,
be
man. I swear to God, it is me in front of my
sure,
friends. It's me with
sure.
three beers in front of my friends.
Okay. So you figure out your routine. Is that more accurate?
That's good. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You
Okay,
write
okay. So
jokes.
you
You
figure.
line up. Let's put it this way. You line up some jokes.
Okay, that's fair. So
Yeah.
how did that equal to you starting on the Bob and Tom show? And do you remember what year it was you first appeared?
I don't know. I don't know. I forget what year it was. It was way back when. Maybe it was around 2004, 2005. But yeah, way back then. 2004. Yeah, so about 20 years ago, right?
That's pretty close, yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
what was great, I was just playing a comedy club in Indianapolis, one-liners with Dave the King Wilson, and he's like, "I'm going to get you on the Bob and Tom show tomorrow." And I'd heard of them. I knew comics, wanted to get on that show. So I'm like, "Okay, I'll do
Yeah.
it." And I showed up, and I think I did the job interview bit, you know, and I didn't have to edit anything. I could go as fast as I wanted to, and they liked that I had a lot of punchlines. People make fun of that these days. That comics would go on radio and do their act, but whatever, man. People listened to it, liked it, and Bob laughed a lot. Bob has got that great laugh, and Tom was amused, and whatever, worked out, man. It just totally worked out. Then I got a call from Wichita saying play our club, and I couldn't find a place to park because all the Bob and Tom fans were there. So that changed my career. I thought Ted Nugent was there. So I was honestly, I looked at the parking lot. I looked at the parking lot and I'm like, who's in town? What's going on? Who's in town? Because I wasn't accustomed to that. But then I learned the power of radio, you know,
Yeah, especially back then. Back then, that was their
back then.
heyday. So, that was
Yeah.
the perfect time to get on. And again, that's
Yeah.
how I got hip to you, and I've been listening ever since. So,
That's great.
and
What were
I
you?
think,
Younger than I am, way
go ahead.
younger. You must be younger. You must be decades younger than I am.
2004 was my senior year in high school.
Hey,
So,
good
yeah,
for you. Okay, good. You're in your prime. In your prime.
yeah, you would like to think so. Yeah, I don't really know. I think that might have passed me by about 10 years ago, and
No, you're a
just
young guy, man.
I've
You
caught
should
up with
be
age.
playing bass for Pink.
Well, first I'd have to learn bass, and then I'd have to like Pink, which I don't like either one of those two things. But so okay, is there been
Yeah.
what is it what is it like experiencing that? Because from a fan standpoint, I've always wondered what it would be like to, be on the show. Is it as cut and dry as kind of like, all right, we're on air. Okay, now everybody shut up. All right, we're back on air and everybody shut up. Or is there more of a flow to it? What has been your experience being like the production side of it, I guess is the question I'm asking.
Well, over the years, I like all those people. I consider them all friends of mine. So there's a lot of gossip, a lot of talking, updating them of this guy, that guy. What happened to this guy? What about that guy? Chick, how are you doing? Blah blah blah. You got a patio? You got a place to sip your coffee? How's your dogs? Christy, this, that, all the stuff. And then we're back on the air. And then I try to behave, but
Yeah.
it's friendly. And long story short, I'd say it's friendly and fun. Friendly and fun for me. Now it's like going into a group of friends that you missed. So you get in there, and that's what it's
Yeah.
like. It's not. But again, when you're on the air, you want to be good. I try to be good. If I have something to say, I want it to be worthwhile. I don't want to just make noises that suck.
Right.
I try to say things that are funny. I try to be funny. You know what I do? I
Yeah.
try to say things that are funny.
Right. And I know that sometimes, well, not sometimes, every time you're in there, Tom will always try to get you back to the same old bits. But do you
That's okay.
find yourself, and I know one of my favorite thing is when I like to confuse you with your own stuff. Think that's one of the funniest things in the world. But
Yeah.
when you're in there, do you find yourself like, oh gosh, I don't want to continue saying, the same jokes that I've been saying for the last 20 years, but at the same time, like, that's what when people hear your name, they want to hear the weight belt,
Oh,
stick. They
that's
want
right.
to hear the interview stick. Do you feel like you have to do those kind of things?
It doesn't bother me, man. If Tom wants to hear that, that show really has made my career. If that's what they want to hear, I'll do it full blast. I got no problem with I'm an artist and I don't do that anymore. What? I'll do it. What are you kidding me? It's great. I mean, it's fun. It's easy.
Yeah.
Here's the good thing about it. I've got it memorized. Let's do it. You know? It's fine. I'm still rewriting it all the time. Like the job interview ends with, "Where do you see yourself in 5 years?" Back in rehab. And now, like, now I'm gonna add, like you can add. It's been longer. It's been shorter. All the jokes in that stupid thing. But so that's how I've wrapped it up. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Back in rehab, or in the mall buying bigger pants, or next to you in the dumpster behind the airport. But then I'm going to have the guy say, "See you Monday," and then I'm going to say, "See you Tuesday. I hate it here. So what's the rush?" You know what I mean? You got to add.
Right. Yeah, right. I know I always enjoy when you're in with someone else. There's one person in particular that when you two get together, I've got multiple episodes of you guys saved on my phone, whether it be on Spotify, SoundCloud, whatever, and I go back to them frequently.
Really?
It's whenever you're in there with Frank Caliendo
Oh, that's
because you
funny.
guys you guys feed off each other like almost perfectly. Would you agree?
Well, I think I annoy him with my simpleton bits, which, but to me, it's very entertaining. Like, so now, if I do end up on the show with him again, I've got some specific jokes to do that will really get under his skin that I can't wait because they're too stupid. Do you know what I mean? I'll tell you a
Yeah,
joke right now. Here, I'll tell you right now because he's not going to see this. There's a
right.
like, how ring announcers, ring announcers, when they say, "Let's get ready to rumble," they try to get everybody
Right.
excited for the fight, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to say, "I want to be a ring announcer. I got to be a ring. I'm working on my thing's going to be, this fight's going to be pretty good," right? Now, I've
Right.
actually already done that on Bob and Tom. And it's so stupid. If Frank
Right.
shows up, I'm going to bust right into that. And then the show's going to continue, but he's going to be mentally disturbed after I
Right.
do that joke because it's too stupid.
There's one in particular that I always will go out of my way to find. And like you said, it annoys him how simple it is because he even talks about it later. You said something about you've got this painting
Oh, right.
and here comes Ed.
Was that it? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And he got so pissed off. So I'm so glad that you said that. And that's 100% real. He's 100%
Yeah,
upset at how simple it is. Yes.
yeah, right. He goes, "Yeah, I did that joke." And it was like a couple seconds. And then he couldn't take it. And he goes, "No way. No way you did that." No.
So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's okay. It's just nonsense.
why do you think that works so well? Is it the environment that you're in? Is it the
Yeah, it's the
reaction that
environment
you
and it's
get?
so silly. And when in the moment I think it's funny, And it helps a lot
Yeah,
as a comedian if you think it's funny. Because sometimes
sure.
you'll do a joke and you'll be like, "Man, I don't even think that's funny anymore. I can't do it." You know? But
Yeah,
he adds to it because I know it's gonna bug him. So I think, "Oh, this is gonna be double funny. I gotta do this."
yeah, for
Yeah.
sure, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, this he's worked on impressions. He spent hours trying to perfect voices, and he writes the whatever lingo it is that he's going to say, when he's doing an impression of somebody. For me to come up with
Right,
a joke like "Here comes Ed," oh, there's a painting. My favorite painting is there's a figure. He's coming towards you, and you don't really know who it is, but then you figure it out, and the name of the painting is "Here Comes Ed."
right,
It's so stupid. And it takes literally 22 seconds to write. So when a
right.
real, so when a guy that's put in a lot of effort, like Frank, hears something like that, but I do that and everybody in the room laughs, it doesn't sit well.
Yeah, sure,
But at the same
sure.
time, he enjoys it. He gets it.
Yeah, especially when like the last time he was on, and this is the
Yeah.
last thing I'll say about thing I'll say about Caliendo because I didn't come here to talk about him. But
Okay, it's
uh
good.
the last time he was on, Tom made him do the entire version of Piano Man as like somebody else the entire time, and Godwin's sitting there playing, and he's making Caliendo sing, and then turn around to you, like you said, takes 22 seconds to fire off,
Do my
and
joke.
it everybody thinks it's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure,
Yeah.
for sure. So there's been, I guess, a lot of drama, I guess you could say, between comedians being put out in the public with the Shannon Sharp interviews and stuff like that. Is comedy really that competitive, or is that just kind of a part of dog and pony show as far as like what Cat Williams was trying to stir up at the beginning of this year, or is it really as cutthroat as these people are trying to make it seem?
I don't know because I'm just not at that level, man. I mean, as your
Okay.
podcast gets bigger, you'll get like bigger names. But right now, you're talking to me. So I don't I don't know what's going on up there. The Cat Williams, Kevin Hart, Dave Chappelle world. Eddie Murphy. I don't know that level. I don't know what's going on. I would think though, if I ever did have another layer of success, which I'm still going for, don't get me wrong. Um, I think I would just keep to myself and not. I don't think I worry about it. If I had an
Yeah.
arena show or something, like look at this guy like Nate Bargatze. I don't think anyone's going to say anything negative about him. Do you know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
don't think
That's
you'll
fair.
hear him say anything. He's just going to do his, shows and make all that money, and it's great. Or Sebastian Maniscalco. I mean, these guys keep to themselves. But on the other hand, it's fun. This guy Cat Williams and whatnot. I mean, for me I'm watching like you are, like a spectator. I'm highly entertained. I'm entertained.
Yeah.
So whatever, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know Steve. What's his name? Steve Harvey.
Steve Harvey.
I don't
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
Steve
Yeah.
Harvey. I don't know
So
the. I
really
don't know
on
what's going on. So I'm highly entertained.
the club scene is basically what you're talking about as far as like the level you're on. Because let's be honest, you're not giving yourself as much credit as popular as you are. Because even my wife knows who you are, and
Oh,
she
that's
is not
great.
hip to anybody.
Oh, that's
So you are at some certain point. So at the
yeah.
point that you're at, you don't really see anything like that. It doesn't seem that way anyway.
I just don't let it bother me. I don't care what.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't. I'm not in any kind of a gossip type contest with anybody.
Yeah.
I don't know. What are you?
Sure.
Aren't you supposed to worry about yourself and work on your own junk? I'm like, hey man, do I have some new funny things to say for my next show? That's all I think about. I mean, that's really
Okay.
it. I'll try to get bigger, and if I get involved in the controversy, have me back on the podcast. I'll tell you how
Yeah.
it is. I'll tell you how it
I
is.
as soon as I see it in the news, Greg Hahn controversy. I got your number
Yeah,
now. I'll just give you a call, and
yeah.
I'll get my dog Zoe to interview you next time. Then that
Zoe, that's
works.
a great dog. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But okay, well, throughout your career, because again, like we talked about, it's been over 20 years. Has there been really any moment? Because I come from a background in music, and as jaded as I became 15 years into doing large shows, there are certain shows that just stick out, even though I've done, God, probably well over 1,000 shows at this point. Is there any particular events that have happened to you in comedy that even to this day, after so many clubs and so many years, that no matter where you are, you will remember X?
No.
No. Okay.
Show that I'll always remember.
Yeah.
I'd say I'll remember but the last show I did was Saturday night here in Boca Raton, Florida, and it was unbelievable as far as people laughing. They laughed at the jokes, they laughed at the new jokes. We had a good time, and that's the show that I will remember until probably the next show. But that was a great show. I remember like the great shows. That was a great one. I remember doing a Bob and Tom show in Indianapolis, and Pat McAfee told me that it was his first time doing stand up. And then, and a couple months later, he's flying around in a Learjet doing stand up.
Yeah.
I mean, that was a great night. That was a great show. So Indianapolis was a great time. But yeah, I don't know, man. Maybe I'm like a golden retriever. I don't remember. I'm kind of in the moment. What I have to do
That's
now.
fair.
Yeah, but I don't remember
Yeah.
a whole lot of. You know, there's no big wild standout shows. I had a great show recently at the Comedy Magic Club. I don't know. I kind of remember the last 6 shows, and that's it. You've got your fun bombing stories. I remember doing a show and it was so quiet, I stepped out of the spotlight to see if anybody was still there and it was sold out. I remember that show. I remember a lady opening her umbrella in the front row to call attention to herself. And I grabbed a cup of ice that was behind me and threw it at her. And she closed her umbrella. So the ice went past her and hit the lady in the face behind her. Like, I remember that show. Maybe that's what's,
Holy crap.
And that's when I,
Right.
hey man, don't ever throw anything into the audience. You know?
That's fair. That's fair. What was it like going to the Bahamas with the Bob and Tom show every once in a while? Was it pretty much just a big ass party, or was it
Yeah,
more work than anything?
time, and it was great. It was fun. I wish they would go again. But yeah, no, it was just a blast. It was we did the radio show in front of a bunch of people there. I did a bunch of stuff. Tommy Johnigan was there. I remember that. I remember got waterboarded doing the parachute thing. You know, I wouldn't let
Yeah.
the guy my feet dangle into the water. I wrapped them around the cord. You ever seen that? What's that called?
Yeah.
Parasailing?
Parasailing. Yes. Yep.
What do they do? They let you come down and they let you dangle your feet in the ocean, and then
Yeah.
you run it, and you go back up, right? Well, instead of
Hmm.
dangling, wrap my feet around the line to be a smart aleck. And the guy
Yeah.
did. We cut the engine, and I went right underwater, totally 100% underwater. Then he gunned it. I popped out of the water. He shut it down again. Boom, back underwater. It was awesome. And
Good
then,
Lord.
yeah, half the boat thought I was dead. And then they reeled me in. I was fine. I figured out how to get water somehow, or air, and I lived. But anyway, yeah, that was fun. I remember that.
Yeah. Um, Again, back to the intro as we kind of wind down here.
Yeah.
I brought up the fact that you've been on Conan O'Brien before. What was that experience like being on a situation like that? Because that one point in time, Conan O'Brien was a big deal, you know?
Yeah. Well, I was sort of new, and I made the mistake. I learned something on that show where I changed the beginning of my act in the green room before I came out. So I hadn't done it a couple hundred times, the very
Yeah.
beginning. So I came out and flubbed up, I think, the first thing I said. And then one of the trumpet guys in the band, because the band's right next to you, I did my joke wrong. And then the guy in the band went, but up bump. So I started off completely off track, like
Oh,
rails. The joke didn't
no.
make sense. I'm getting heckled by the band. And then I went through the thing and I got my momentum and it started going. And then I went to the job interview thing and did not do the funniest last line because I was getting the light, like, get off stage, like, wrap it up, wrap it up. And then I got the light, like, you're done, you're done, you're done. So I didn't do the joke that would have gotten the biggest amount of laughs. Instead,
Yeah.
took my shoe off and threw it on the ground and went bananas. And I almost knocked over Conan himself, you know? You watch that kind of thing and you're like, all right, I could have done that better, but whatever. It was
Right.
pandemonium. I do like that, but that's what that was like. I think next time I would, if I did another show, I should do the Fallon show. Actually, is what I should do.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
should.
that'd be a good time. I'll try to do that. Maybe I'll do
Yeah.
better. Oh, you never know.
Sure. Well, first and foremost, I want to say thanks for talking to me, number one. But number two, that show, and again, I've got a lot of your episodes from the Bob and Tom show that features you saved on my phone,
Yeah, that's
has
nice.
always been something for me that I can go back to during the darkest times. I actually got this show or this shirt that I'm wearing right now, the live show they did last year in Dayton. And I told them the same thing I tell you, and the same thing I'll tell anyone that's ever been on that show. The effect that you guys have had in this area alone that I can speak for that I live in, it's legendary. Everybody knows the bits, everybody knows the comedians. And again, just like me, during dark times in my life, I can go back to these and it makes me smile. Not only because I feel like I've kind of grown up with you guys, but it's just like the content means more than just pressing play. You know what I mean? Like when I listen to a regular comedy album from Eddie Murphy or something like that, or whoever it might be, I'm listening, just because it's a comedy album. For you guys, it's kind of like reminiscing. And so for that, I just want to say thanks. I know that uh, a lot of artists are very hard on themselves, and I just want you to know firsthand the effect that it's had, at least on me and again this area. So with that being said, I just kind of want to turn to go right ahead. Yeah.
Say this, it's the same way for me. Like, I'll use that show because of the people in there. It kind of, if you're a little disturbed or don't feel good, it provides some normalcy, some consistency. It's like a group of friends you hear every
Yeah.
day. I've gone in there like bothered by stuff, and me doing the show has helped me out, you know,
Yeah.
knowing there's a bunch of fans and the show is there. So the shows help me out, like you're talking about when you're a little down while I'm doing the show, you know? So I identify with what you're saying.
Yeah. It literally got me through COVID. The only thing that I would look forward to by the time I went to work in 2020, by the time I went to work and the time I came back was watching that 20-minute clip that they would put at the end of the night, because this was before people don't realize just how much technology has advanced in the 4 years since COVID started.
Right.
The whole shows weren't a thing then, just 4 years ago. But that 20-minute clip that I couldn't watch while I was at work coming out literally made my week. It got me through that isolation period, and
20-minute
I,
clip, is
I don't,
that TV show that was on, or is it still on? It's still on, right? They do it
it's,
on.
they don't, yeah, they do it on YouTube. But
Right.
back then, during COVID, they would like do a live premiere. Facebook doesn't allow the live premieres anymore. But back then, it was B&T X or B&T Tonight, and it was all just a live premiere of the best 20 minutes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. What is it? Let me ask you this. You say you played like 1,000 shows or whatever. What do? You sing?
I am a vocalist. Yes. Well, I used to be. Yes.
Okay. So you've done all
Yeah.
that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, COVID killed it. I was in a band called Menace to Sobriety. We were as close to a nationwide underground band that you could get. My bunch of my tour passes are right behind me on this wall. And over here for a group I work for now these days in music. It was performing. I understand that high, and that's a lot of things that a lot of people don't get is, they don't understand how addictive it is to be on stage. And
Yeah.
again, COVID killed that for me.
Uh,
So, again, it's another reason why this show is so important to me, is because even though I don't have that form of entertainment anymore, I still listen to the Bob and Tom Show every morning, and I got all those clips that remind me of even back then, at those times, driving to some of these spots, and it's yeah.
all
It,
right. Well, thanks, man. Thanks again, Jay. Thanks for having me on your podcast.
no problem, my man. Thank you for being here. And if you have anything you would like to plug, any website, anything like that, you can go ahead and do that now.
I don't know. My corporate site is greghahn.com. I'm on X at what is it? At Han Comedy. And I put my dates on there a lot. And sometimes my greghahn.com, sometimes I update that website. So check it out, and we'll see you. We'll see you out there, everybody. Hey, man, I should see you at a show and date next time I play Wiley's.
I will be there. You have my word. I will absolutely be there the next time you're in town.
Yeah, come on out. Come on out. I'd like to meet you. All right, everybody.
Yes, sir.
We'll see you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your time.